or fucking die!
Sober. Fucking sucks. Boring, right? So boring. I want to kill myself.
Fucking rich. Who's rich every fucking time? All we care about is getting fucking rich.
Fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not fucking real.
YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, SoundCloud, Twitter, Instagram.
Biggie, I think you got a drug problem, man.
Dude, I love that video, man.
It's the best. Dude, I should see if he'd join us on here. I bet he would. He's a cool dude.
Did you just did you do that?
Did who?
Who did that video?
Eclectic Method.
Oh, really?
You know him, right?
No, I don't.
Oh, my.
Like you were like, I'm gonna do the Eclectic Method video, and I was like, who are they talking about? I just thought, I was like, this fucking dope as shit.
He's one of the coolest dudes out there. He's like one of our earliest idiot friends too. Like we met him through
Hats off,
met him,
man.
dude. Hang on, I'm gonna pull him up here. Good morning, guys, by the way. Hello.
GM, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Jesus. I just got right into it. Holy cow.
What's
Henry,
up,
you're getting a
Henry?
little of that feedback still too, by the way. Just a heads up. Eclectic Method. Dude's an absolute gangster. He's one of he's one of our earliest idiot friends. So Henry and I met him through NFT boxes. He was the artist in, I don't remember if it was the month where X Copy headlined. I think it was there. And dude, he came into the Discord. We all got to know each other, hanging out, having parties. Okay, so he even came into, I don't know if you remember the Penelope's Country Club collection, but he came into there and he did a party with us with, it was like a CyberKong's Penelope Countries Club little party, and he DJ'd it, and like Coco made it rain bananas, and it was fucking wild. And anyway, he's just an awesome freaking dude.
I love the vibe of that thing. He's followed. I just followed him.
And dude, he's pushing AI,
awesome.
like forefront of AI. He remixes everything, and now AI is gonna make it where he can do anything the dude can dream of. So man, he's just awesome. Like I'm a big.
I fucking love it, dude. Where had he been all my life?
Yeah, right, dude. It's exactly that. He's been on the Late Show. He's like performed with Chuck D. Like he's just a dude. Anyway. Guys,
the
again,
benefits
GMs.
of early morning, huh?
What, say again?
The benefits of the early morning Saturday show.
You learn shit like that, right?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. It's been a week. It's been a hell of a week, man. Like it's been really fun. I can't wait to actually get into stuff here. First off, Biggie, Henry, how you guys doing?
Henry. Maybe he's dealing with his audio. I'm doing great, Huda. I did something last night. I don't know if you caught it.
I didn't catch it.
I got naked with the Dobbs, dude.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, I DJ'd into the Naked DAO. It's awesome. I love it. It's the thing, you know. Yeah, I'm a fan. Never leaving. It was a great time. I you know, like some communities when you just join them, right? Like I got the Naked DAO. I went into the Discord. We got into the voice chat for about an hour and a half. Great vibes. I'm really liking the Dobbs. You know, it's I'm getting more and more bullish. I can see why the fanaticism. And they're just cool, man. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. I friend ran Nifty Q. We were like talking, and I guess he had a date like right before, so he had to like drop off. And like I guess Buffalo had just chimed in, and I was already looking for a naked dop. So the minute he hung up, I was like, well, I'm not gonna overpay, so I'm just gonna get one right now.
So this one right here, not a naked dop because it's got the little handkerchief thing.
So that was something that I was like trying to wonder about, and I asked Nifty Q. So if you go to the filter tab, and then under the traits, under clothes, there's a naked trait.
Oh, okay. Let me just for context here, guys. So Biggie and Nifty Q, Gifted, myself, the NFT live crew, we've been getting into Say, like just exploring that ecosystem a bit. And for whatever reason, actually, thanks to Q, it's the Dobbs collection that we zeroed in on. He saw something in this collection and he started talking about it, and we degened right in with him. Holy shit. And I guess the naked Dobbs are maybe the grail of the collection just because maybe people want it to be. But they formed their own little DAO, and these guys on their own are getting whitelisted that the general collection isn't, I guess. And by the way, I got a few of these. I think they are a pretty awesome collection. Q says they're like the Bored Apes of Say right now. Maybe price doesn't show it, but he's in that Discord, and I know he talks to them. And that's the vibe he gets from them. And Q's got great instincts. So,
dude,
what he says, I listen.
And the naked DAO was, I don't know, I just felt good about it right off the bat. Joining the Discord, there's quite a few familiar names that I was like, oh shit, you're in the Dobbs already. You're in the naked DAO. I was like, damn, yeah. There's a couple of homies there. There's Metablocks is there. Akin is there. I'm sure you know Akin Sawyer. Who else is there? There's a couple of people that I was like, all right, man, like some people are already congregating around this thing, and apparently there's some cool plans. But I love it because it's kind of also like not too much has been revealed. In fact, after this show today, at 10 a.m. we're gonna get together, and I think it's like the first meetup of the naked Dobbs. So I'm
like a video call or something.
Yeah, I guess like a Discord chat, and I think we're gonna talk about and throw some ideas around. But it's good signs, right? Like with such an early ecosystem, to see quality people that I know that are here for the long run. People like Akin, people like Metablocks. Who else, man?
You're feeling the vibe there? Like, are you feeling what Q's feeling? Like, because I don't feel it yet because I'm not active in there. So
yeah, and more than like the vibe, it's like, okay, dude, like some people here are committed. Like they want to like really plant the flag and establish themselves here. Like, which is like I think cool. Key, right? Like as a collection, the first thing you want to do is like make sure that anybody that slides through that Discord, like just gets a catch of the vibes and understands that like it's not a fly-by-night project, and that like there's people that are committed. And to me, a great sign is when you find your homies there, right? Like people that you know and you've spoken to and you recognize, and that are there to build or to really commit to a community. It's always a good sign. So
I love it. Really good cool. Stuff. Henry, are you with us yet?
Yeah. Listening. I was disconnected from Wi-Fi. I don't know if this is any better or if it's still feedback.
I think it's way better.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Good shit. Welcome. Good to hear your voice, man. Henry,
dude, I was thinking last night.
It's Henry.
I was like, man, we've been so busy. No, we've been so busy, dude. We don't get to like catch up as much during the week. Yeah. So I like the Saturday mornings. It's great to be here with you and Biggie. Yeah, fun week, man.
Dude, real fun week. And I say this like often. I love doing my 5-minute daily videos, but it's the live show I like the most. Like, it's like where you can really get loose and you can really just riff on stuff. And like just my favorite people that come through here, whether it's on the screen or come through the chat and hang out with us. Dude, it's my favorite.
Do I need to mute?
Maybe you can. Do anyone listen
when I'm not talking? Just.
Well, let's ask the crew, like the crowd. You guys, I hear a little feedback when Henry talks or when I'm talking and he's not muted. Should he mute, or are you guys fine with it? And you can just drop that in the chat. Rajan, great to see you, man.
Yeah, it's annoying if you hear somebody echoing. Yeah, you know what? What's that?
No, I was wondering, is like, where are you seeing the feedback? Yeah, I saw like I wasn't able to see the comments, and now I got to the comment section. That's awesome. I do like interacting in the comments. So,
Dude, look at this. Rajan grabbed a Saiyan. They
Oh,
get
fuck yeah,
they get
dude.
some of the royalties.
Hell yeah,
That's-
Raja.
Man, Say is something, man. Like
Yeah.
really, Say is something. Man, I'd love to get them onboarded on Crypto Slam. They did
Oh,
reach
well,
out. I hope
dude, we
can make that
will,
happen.
man. Like we've got a pretty solid community of Dobbs in there. I think once they reveal themselves, I don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me give a quick agenda for today. There is a lot to freaking talk about. Go figure, right?
Yeah.
Where are we going to start? Well, of course, I'm going to start with the market, but let me just give you the general gist of the show today. We'll touch the market. We got to talk about what's been happening in the NFT ecosystem, not the market stuff. Well, I guess partially the market stuff like the pudgy penguins in there. Do we call it the flapping? Is that what we're calling it?
Flappening.
The flappening.
Yeah.
Pudgy penguins
I
just
love
freaking on fire this week, man. Donald Trump on ordinals, absolutely brilliant, absolutely insane. I love that freaking story. So we're gonna hit on that. Big mints over the past week. We had the Pizza Ninjas and we had the Crypto Undeads. We'll check in on how both of those are going. Kind of a mixed bag, but also like really, really fun to look at because there's some stories there. And I think one of the biggest stories here is the Taproot Wizards on Bitcoin. Their new collection coming out called the Quantum Cats, and it's featured or focused on some new tech or some op code that's called OpCat. That's the most important part of that entire Quantum Cats collection. So we're going to get into that too. We'll show you how the quest even works too, because I may recommend you get into it. The price, though, that's another discussion. And again, we will talk about that price. It's pretty freaking wild. Let me see. Big sweeps and big collections. I mean, you guys know the drill. So, any other topics you guys think I should put on the list, or you guys want to hit it?
Yes. Yeah. I think we need to put on there Coinbase versus the SEC. It didn't make significant rounds this week, but there was some really interesting, really interesting stuff out of the Southern District of New York.
Dang. All right, let me move that to the. Is that a top story?
Ouch.
I'm gonna put it to the top. We'll work it in.
It had to do with Coinbase's motion to dismiss the case from the SEC, and surprisingly, it made some of the rounds. But if you really dive into it, which we can get into whenever, it's really interesting, the feedback from the judge, some of her comments on it. So yeah, it'd be fun to get into.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. I made a prediction this year that the SEC is going to pop some collections, some big ones, and I wonder if that's going to change my mind. Oh man, that'd be cool. All right, guys, then let's kick it off with a little market talk. It's it's a hard market to read right now, and that's all I do is try to read the market. And man, again, mixed bag. Like this morning, down 1.94%. The index here, by the way, it's measuring the value of the market. So it's my temperature check. Are we up or are we down value-wise and volume-wise? It's all these things combined. And again, right now, down almost 2%. So it doesn't look great. But at the same time, we keep hearing about projects minting out. We keep seeing floor prices rising. We keep seeing CryptoPunks being swept up like freaking crazy. And that is something we're actually going to talk about here too. I want to peek at the 7 days because I haven't done that in a bit. Yeah, I mean, past 7 days down almost 2% as well. I don't think that's awful. It kind of gets worse the more you zoom out here, though. And I guess at this point, even after we had that phenomenal October, November, December, we've erased half of those gains. I think when I went back and tracked this, though, we've erased all the gains since I think it's November 30th. Like basically set ourselves back to then. Not the worst thing in the world, right? Like right now, just this holding pattern. I don't know what we're waiting for exactly. I think Bitcoin to cook, but in my opinion, just a matter of time. Good morning, mother freaking English. Good to see you, man. English, a good friend of the show, one of the biggest idiots I know. The term of endearment, just so you guys know. NFT sales yesterday, 43.7 mil. Solid day of sales. Sellers was up. Unique buyers also up. Total transactions up. All the numbers you want to see going up were up yesterday, so you love to see that. And a look at the leaderboard, and there's actually some pretty spicy stuff here. I'll just go over the number one project here. You can see the rest yourselves. But the CryptoPunks, I tweeted out this morning, it's the return of the king, and the CryptoPunks are the king of NFTs. They're in the number one spot this morning behind $4.7 million in sales. And those sales, by the way, guys, not only pushed Ethereum to number one, which they have been now for most of the week, but again, it's the CryptoPunks, and it's the number of CryptoPunks selling. Let me see if I have that as my next screen. No, let me pull it up, though. I want you guys to see the CryptoPunk sales. Did you guys catch them, by the way, yesterday? Maybe yesterday
nice
afternoon?
little sweep. That and Squiggle.
And Squiggle, that's right. The Flamingo DAO. Now, actually, that makes me think I either need to scroll further down or they didn't get picked up. But Flamingo DAO swept 13, I think 13 or 14 Squiggles. Freaking beautiful,
Rescued them from the floor. Huda.
Those had no business being at like 8 ETH. I was actually, I've got just a little ETH right now, and I was really tempted to go all in on one Squiggle.
Dude,
like, that's a safe play.
Somebody picked up like a pipe, I think, or a really nice slinky for like nothing.
Wow.
I think I don't know. It's been a great time to buy if you're liquid and you're looking for like blue chip art. There's been some amazing deals, man. It's been painful to see,
dude. Absolutely. Rajan agreed about that collection being undervalued. It did have a little pump, I think, over the last week or two, which is great. I sold mine, man. I got desperate for a while and like really needed to sell some stuff. And man, I sold almost everything I had of value, which sucks. But that's one I think I want to get back into. And then really nice move here. You sold the Pudgy at 11, got 2 Lil Pudgies. And I agree with you here, the 3 to 4 ETH. I actually think maybe even a little higher. That's my play, or that's what I'm waiting on to get into a V1 Punk. Like, I am tempted to pull the trigger on a V1 Punk now, but I do believe the Pudgies will get me there all on its own, that I can basically trade a Lil Pudgy for a V1 Punk. So I'm hoping that happens. But yeah, look at the top collectible sales. It's Fidenza's at the top, really. 2 in the top 5, but then it's all CryptoPunks. Like, literally, just all CryptoPunks. I think this morning it was 32 of the top 35 sales were all CryptoPunks. That includes a sweep of, I believe it was 18 or 20 CryptoPunks from one brand new wallet. So you never know if that's actually a new trader or if that's somebody just making a fresh wallet and funding it. I also don't know if that starts getting into a little manipulation, but I think with CryptoPunks, it's different. I don't ever look at that as market manipulation because those are real and they are historic and yada, yada, yada.
And it's smart. No, if you're picking up 10 CryptoPunks, like you don't necessarily want people to know who you are, put a big target on your back, right?
That's true.
It's still a crazy, crazy world out there. And so you do want to keep some of your privacies, sirs.
And I want to show you guys this. It's a really, really good point, too. Like, I always forget. Okay, I've thought about that myself. Like, I do most of my trading just from my main wallet. And sometimes I'm like, man, I don't think I want people looking at all the trades. So I've started thinking more and more about having another wallet to do things from. This, I got to show you. Big bid on one of the rarest CryptoPunks in the collection. It's the top hat. It's the ape.
Gentleman ape.
The gentleman ape, bro. So the apes, they normally go for like, I don't know, anywhere from like 2.5 up to $10+ million. This guy right now with, let's see what that offer is. $2.7 million offer. It came in just this morning, a couple hours ago. This is it, guys. We're back season. And this tells us it. It's always the CryptoPunks as that leading indicator. It's almost without fail. Now, like, you'll get sweeps here and there, right? And they don't lead to anything. It's different when you get sweep after sweep after sweep, and we've been seeing that really since the ETF approval, so pretty freaking great. Oh, I see you there. Okay, we're going to get Moisty up here, too. Give me a moment, fellas. The whole damn idiots crew. What's Rajan have to say here? Yeah, dude, Rajan making moves, by the way. He's, as you get to, like, know people and they tell you a bit of their trades, you learn who's good. And, man, some traders are just good. They got a different kind of, like, killer instinct. There's something different. I don't have that. Like, whatever that is, I am not good at it. I don't have it. Never have. The only thing I'm good at is finding stuff early. I've always been good at that. But I'm not good at making, like, pulling the trigger, making timely plays. Never happened. But guys like Cat's Fanatic, that guy's gotten to be, like, an expert at it. I guess Rajan's one of those guys, too.
Rajan, a fellow idiot also?
Too. Say again? Oh, dude, fucking English coming, too. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Let's talk cats English.
Yeah, dude, we're going to hit on quantum cats.
You want a pet cat?
Well, I'll say this. Quantum Cats, we're going to talk because I do think everybody should know about them. I do think it's pretty much it's going to be the second biggest collection on Bitcoin. But part of the quest is that you teach people about them. And so we're going to try to do that as best we can. Explain what they are, again, why they matter, why they're priced the way they are, which is crazy. We're going to get into that stuff. English DM'd you and Moisty DM'd you, both on Discord.
Is Rajan also a fellow idiot?
Rajan, are you in our idiots Discord? If not, I'm going to invite you.
You strike me as a fellow idiot, Rajan.
It really does. And dude, at some point, I'm going to tie this show to the Discord. I got to figure out how to do that. Like, it can't be like full access. Like Idiot Discord, by the way, guys, not an alpha group. It's a group of friends. Like we've been in the space for 3 years at this point, learning the space together. A lot of us work in the space and have for a long time. We got guys who worked at high levels of VFriends and Pixel Vault, and of course myself at Crypto Slam. Henry's on the Council of Kongs with the Cyber Kongs. A lot of people who work in the industry. It's a really great space, and I think because we're making friends here, it's time to start bringing some people in. Yeah. Morning, Moisty. You feeling moist today, buddy?
Morning, guys. Happy Saturday. Glad to be here as always.
Hell yeah.
GM.
Rajan, can you DM me on Twitter, and I'll send you a link there?
Hell yeah.
Bitcoin booze. We'll get into that, Sly. I am giga bullish on Bitcoin booze. Giga bullish. Sometimes it's just about the person. Booze? Yeah, man. You heard of him?
Me too, man.
Oh, right?
Yeah. I saw them. Yeah.
You can feel those up and comers, the influencers, the guys who are going to be like the dude of the space, and he's one of them. Of course, he's on the show with BitGod and a couple other big names, but yeah, Butoshi's going to be a guy, and you bet on guys like that. Now, okay, that's also why I'm betting on the Quantum Cats, even at their price. I should just say the price because I've like teased it a few times. Quantum Cats, and we're not getting into it yet, but Quantum Cats, guys, is a 0.1 Bitcoin mint. But because I'm betting on a guy and because I'm betting on tech, then I'm in. 0.1's a fucking lot, man. Good Lord.
That's a lot.
I mean, it is a lot, but Moonbirds were 2.5 at what was ETH at that time? 2,500 or 3K?
3,000, yeah.
Yeah.
So and check it out. Like, it's a lot, but also, well, I guess these came down even from this morning. It is a lot, but also a 5K collection. Is this a 5K? Why does it say 1.5? I thought there was 5K total. I'm going to go with 5K because I do think that's all that is the full supply. But either way, if people are trading these Pizza Ninjas at a point for 0.09 and 0.1, Quantum Cats are a different level. They're a different thing. So it tells me people, there's support for that number. They're at this point, though, these guys are only up 2x from the mint, and
I'm happy for them, man. I started getting a lot of FOMO for it. We were talking Huda, but I held tight. I went through the shipwrecked siren gathering and did not pull the trigger for now. I can, I am still I still have the tab open on the computer, but I'm
for these guys.
Yeah, but I'm focused on cats as well right now. I mean, how cool would it be, Huda, like us in this show with our quantum cats, like fucking Dr. Evil,
There's
how is it a public mint or is it like a whitelist only?
It's going to be both. So the whitelist, to get a guaranteed spot, you have to do a quest, and it's a little bit involved. Like you actually have to make some content for it. But there is going to be a public sale, and I think there'll be plenty at public sale because the supply is actually big enough and because they're so expensive. So 3,333 supply, and again, at 0.1, even people who are going to grind the whitelist are now going to stop. So there's going to be plenty, I think, for public. Should sell out. So
I believe so. But then, yeah, do you want to get – I don't know. I can't wait to get into it because I really do love the curation. I don't even know, like, yes, it's part curation what they're doing, but it's I really love that they've actually like leveraged the community to kind of disseminate this info, right? Which is really cool. It's something I didn't know about regarding Bitcoin, and I'm still like very early. I'm pumped to have English and talk about it a little more in depth.
Dude, I don't think I realized that was you.
Did that screen you were just on show Ronin at 217?
Let's check it out. Dude,
I thought I saw them.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Is it really?
Yep. 221.
Yo, let's go.
You a rich man this morning?
Well, the Kong's treasury is richer this morning, and I guess technically I would have a little bit more to my name as well.
Holy cow. God, that's crazy. Dude, I hear people that I respect their takes saying it's a $10 coin. Although I don't know what the market cap is now. I don't know if that's actually doable.
No, it is. At $11 or $12, it would put it at the same market cap as IMX.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's and for the type of chain that it's going to be, I think it is doable. But I think to say $7 to $10 is like in a bowl is very doable.
I know, just because you hated English, just
I know you did that. I wasn't gonna say it to not encourage you. Dude.
I gotta say, I love having you guys on camera. It adds a little more to it, and you guys are beautiful. So it's like win-win-win all around. Good morning, man. Let me steer us right to I think our biggest story of the past week, which is the pudgy freaking Penguins, man. Okay, I don't know. It's been a long time since we saw a collection and their floor price specifically ripped the way we saw pudgy Penguins do this week. I don't remember where they started. I know where they topped out, though, which was damn near 20 ETH. Where did they start, though, guys? Was it like 12, 13?
Do you mean like start from the very beginning, like after mint?
No, I just mean like in this recent run-up. Like, what were they sitting at last week?
Yeah, I think the run-up was in the 10 to 12 range, right?
Yeah,
and then,
I think that's accurate.
So these guys almost 2x'd. Almost. Let's say they did a.
So you want to hear the coolest part about the pudgy Penguin?
Yeah.
Your boy Moisty used to own 8 of them. He bought 8 of them at 0.01 each. So I spent 0.08 ETH on 8 pudgy Penguins. And don't get me wrong, man, I don't regret it because I did very, very well on them. I sold them all the way to the top. They got me a new car. Like,
wow,
I did very well on pudgies. But here I am 3 years later, and I'm like, shit. I held on to one of everything except pudgies because they were mooning so much, and now here we are. And I don't even want to go back and look at where they are because part of my heart is just ripped out from it.
Generational wealth fumbled. Not really. I mean, like you said, you still won. And that's like the mentality you got to stay in.
Yeah, it was probably my biggest win in NFTs, to be honest. But, seeing that 15 is definitely like, oh, shit. I hate my life,
I mean, dude, 15, but also basically 20, and the Grail's going for much, much higher. Like the gold skin one's like 50 ETH. Actually, the floor on them last I saw was like 99 ETH.
I had a rarity like 91 or something like that. Like,
Lordy.
Wow.
Super. I know. I want to go look, dude. I don't even want to go look because
go look.
I don't want to, man. I really don't. I really fucking don't.
A little bit of self-masochism.
Exactly.
Hurt nobody.
What do we think, though?
Huda, something.
The flappening. Is it going to happen?
Huda, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Yeah, no.
It's going to happen.
Oh, shit. I don't know if you guys hear me.
Yes, I got you.
No?
Yeah, English.
Okay, yeah, no. Just something of note. Like I remembered, I don't know if it was on the Saturday one, or whatnot, but there was a point that they were sitting at like 4 to 5 ETH, and they were lagging behind, and you had called them as like an indicator for the bull. And because they were lagging while cryptodes were pumping and a couple of other OG collections, and they stayed flat, right? So you saw all these, like, I guess, undervalued, and people felt to a certain extent that this was correctly valued, right? They had already pumped. To mention, I'm just kind of backtracking a little bit because you asked like the history, where were they sitting? I think they had a pretty strong parabolic run from 5 to 10. There probably were some some small retraces and stuff. And then it really sat at that like 10 range, like between 9, 11, 12. And this just took off over here to 20. I do think there's some narratives pushing the flappening. There's kind of like what happened with Yuga in terms of like, had you just traded Yuga assets like the last bull, you probably would have done better than getting into like these mid chips or whatever. You just sit there, whether you're selling high, buying low, swing trading, or just flipping your profits to this top collection. So I do wonder, to some extent, are people just using this as like a leverage bet on Ethereum? Like, this is just the no-brainer play. I got the money. Let me throw it in here. Crypto punks are cool. They'll probably run, but it's kind of like that like altcoin to like Bitcoin, right? Like you could put it in punks. That's the Bitcoin. You might do a 2x. Great. but like Pudgies could do even from here, you know, potentially even more than that, in a crazy bull, right?
From
Like
here
where,
2x.
yeah. So here's the
Yeah,
thing.
what
I
would a
agree.
crazy bull
I think
like?
so.
What would your prediction be?
And when I say a crazy bull, is you're talking just to set the parameters. You're talking about BTC all-time highs,
Yep.
Ethereum all-time highs, YouTubers saying, "Hey, this is how to flip NFTs, so you could quit your day job." Like that whole, like that whole madness, like a frothy, like kind of thing. Like everybody's like screenshotting their fucking bags because they bought say at 50 cents and it's like at $3, $4, $5, whatever the case may be. There's no reason they can't be 100 ETH.
Man, I agree. To me, I see the same scenario. I see it in that, that top scenario, the peak FOMO, and I think it'll happen. I do. Now, at that point, I wonder where will be a Bored Apes be in relation? Because at that point, I would expect the flippening happened. I got to start calling. I got to get it the flapping in mind. But yeah, I think that would have happened. How far off or how much further down would Bored Ape be then? It's gonna get really, really interesting. And
Yeah,
it's like it's not an if. To me, it's a when. It's when. When is that happening?
to be clear, just one more point, just if I may. I think people have learned to a certain extent, so I really wouldn't expect 100 ETH. I'm just thinking like that's not the furthest thing to think, but I do think to a certain extent there's people say, "Hey, I learned my lesson. I know that these are overpriced. I know not to marry my bags." That's what you say like the whole 2 years, right? Like I learned my
This
lesson.
time it's different.
Exactly. And then you get into it and you get caught up into it and you've made so much profits and that goes all out the window. Like human behavior. You start thinking, okay, like, cause you always move the goalpost. Like, okay, they're 20 ETH. Like, can we get to 20 ETH? I don't know. That's kind of hard. Then you hit 20 and you feel good. And you're like, yeah, there's no reason it doesn't go to 30, 40, 50. And at one point that bubble bursts and we'll see it all over again back into the cycles. Go ahead, Henry. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think there's a little bit of a different dynamic that's happening right now with we'll just say like blue chip OG kind of higher tiered projects. So okay, why did Kongs run to 215 ETH at 4,000 ETH? Probably driven by the speculative price of banana. Then you had apes, which ran to what 125 ETH or so floor price, driven by speculation on ApeCoin. So we saw triple digit collections based on token prices. So there's something that's changing a little bit, which is collections are trying to get airdrops for their top tier collections. Pudgies just got what was the token that they were getting airdropped? It wasn't DMX. It's something like that. That fueled some of the run is that they are working on getting token allocations for their collection. So I think, could these projects run again to triple digit ETH? I think it's possible because this is part of the new meta of token distribution that tokens are using is airdropping them to certain, I'm going to call them elite communities, even though like that's probably not the right word for it, higher priced collections. I'm seeing that in Kongs where people are approaching us and they're wanting to include the Genesis collection in some component of it. So it'll be interesting to see during the bull run if more airdrops are coming to collections like Pudgy Penguins or Apes or Kongs. If that'll help drive the price, because that's ultimately it's like you're not even farming anything. You're just getting a token allocation. You don't even have to really work for it.
I think it's one of the smartest things that a project could offer these days. Like, I love it. I love that you guys are doing it. I love that Pudgy Penguins are. I think the Sappy Seals or whatever, they're doing the same thing. I love that. I don't know if we call that a meta or if that is just what's going to happen going forward, but it makes a lot of sense. So a project, they don't have to even drop their own token to reward their community with tokens. You just give them access to pre-sales. It's brilliant. Was Neo Tokyo one of the first to do that? I feel like they were.
So it's a little bit different. Neo Tokyo uses based VC, and they have these early opportunities to invest in seed rounds. But there's this other meta, which is a little bit different, which is just a token that's going to be released, being airdropped to people for free versus anybody having to like actually invest capital in it to begin with. That's the difference between like what Neo Tokyo is doing versus this other meta I'm talking about, which is just literally you own a Pudgy Penguin, you're getting this airdrop. You own a Kong or an ape or some other high valued asset, you're going to get this airdrop. You saw it with Nifty Island. Nifty Island's doing the play to airdrop, the P to A meta. and you get boosts based on what collections you own in your wallet, and the higher tier collections get a higher boost for the airdrop.
Yeah, and just to add to what you guys were saying, I do think, I guess it was implied, but maybe not said, it is the smart thing to do because you don't tie yourself to the value of that. Like, I think there's always like an underlying value, but once you have a token or you have some kind of like points parlor, like the D Gods has, like there's an actual valuation that you can price it. And when it's just kind of like an emotional collectible, the ceiling is infinite. Like it's just what people will spend on that collection based to be part of that collection based on like the emotional utility, which is a word that the pudgies use. But once you tie yourself to a token and you have to worry about sinks, you really, I think, put a cap on your collection. And so by doing this, everybody wants to be rewarded, right? Like not just being a higher floor price, like that increases the vibes, but you have to sell to leave. People, the grail is just to hold, floor price goes up, and you get this passive income that just comes into your wallet. So you get the best of both worlds. And Huda, I do
you
think
said the naughty word, sir. You said the naughty word.
Yeah, can't say that anymore. Can't say that anymore.
Well, you guys can. I don't work for a school. Well, I do, but I'm not worried about the SEC. That's how we look at it. I know we can't say it that way, but you sit there and you get your residuals. Any way you look at it, but you get actual money by holding. And I do think it's going to be a meta. Like the fact that, what is it? There's the quantum or something. I don't know. So one of these ones that are doing like a cross chain thing. So like where like pudgies qualify, like Mad Lads qualify, that type of thing.
For the layer 0 or the ZK
Yeah.
Saint swap thing.
It's
Yeah.
one of those. Yeah. Just a whole, you're just going to see more people, dude. Like you see people actually like adopting stuff, even if they're not going to, continue to use that product just for airdrops. I eventually think the airdrop thing is definitely a bubble and not sustainable. But for this particular run, everybody's doing it. I think it was a little bit tougher last one because people weren't so well versed. They didn't understand how to farm this kind of stuff. Now everybody's cross chain. Everybody's airdropping, even if not to the same extent like that they're aggressively doing it, but they understand how to do it.
Well, and they have different qualifications, right? Just kind of like what the Wizards are doing with Quantum Cats, where like before it was just like bridge some funds, make a trade. Now it's like spin up a node, launch, set up a contract or something, prove that you're not just farming, and I think they're just going to become more demanding as it goes on because people catch on.
Yep. I'm going to move us on. Maybe if you don't mind, I'll give a final thought on Pudgy Penguins and price. Henry, I'm with you as far as I think we're going to see astronomical prices again. I've always thought that the run we saw in 2022, as crazy as that was, and as many people said that was never going to happen again. In fact, people said PFPs were dead. Like, we'll never see PFPs come back. Wrong about that. And I think wrong about how high the market gets. I think it's like one of those things where, if you saw the Bitcoin chart when it first hit, 1,000 or a couple thousand, people are like, shit, that's it, guys. And then you compare it to where we're at now. I think we see a similar thing with some NFTs. I think we're going to see those absolutely bonkers prices in some collections. Some of them might keep it too, right? Some of them might keep multi-$100 floor prices. Maybe just one or two CryptoPunks.
For shits and giggles, Huda, I'd love to see like what would the astronomical, crazy, bonker prices be reflected at Bitcoin prices? Like, what do you think the highest floor price is the all-time high for Bitcoin in the cycle going to be? I'm curious for everybody, like if they have their own predictions.
Man, I can't even predict that. I do think we'll start valuing things in USD much more. But I think we'll have collections with $1 million floor price. And again, that would just be the CryptoPunks right now, like only them. And that's a while off too. Like that's probably a decade away. But I think we'll see other collections that'll have $100,000 floor price, and those will be smaller collections too. But I think it's going to happen when everybody does come in here, guys. I think VR is going to be key to this. I'll keep saying it, and I have the past couple days. Again, that's why I think a lot of this is years off too. But I am more bullish than ever on NFTs and their price and how big it'll be and yada yada, all that stuff, man. Yeah, if you want to do quick predictions too, I do want to show this trade though from, I want to say 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago. Someone sold an autoglyph, 3 Fidenzas, 9 memories. Do you guys remember this? And they used that money to sweep up Pudgies. Now, at first, people beat him up because Pudgies pulled back and this man was down. But, not so much now. This guy currently 272 ETH worth. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, pretty crazy. Pretty good bet. This guy played it well. Although I'll say the autoglyph he sold, the floor price on that now is like 175 ETH. So maybe he's closer to even. But
did you see yesterday there was a pudgy who posted that he had he forgot that he had a pudgy listed on Coinbase's marketplace for 7 ETH. And it made me think that's a place we need to be like checking religiously to see if people, when collections run up, if they have something listed there that they forgot about.
Yeah, who else went and scoured the marketplace? I did.
Like, how is that possible that a pudgy was listed at 7 with the floor price at 19 and nobody caught it?
Nobody's looking there, right? But man, I bet everybody ran their ass right on over and checked their account. I did. I made sure I had nothing listed, and I started looking through big collections. It'll probably happen now with all these different marketplaces. It could happen where you left something on X2, Y2, or looks rare, and you just totally forgot about it. So always opportunities out there.
Well, I think with like looks rare and stuff, because the aggregate marketplaces pick it up, it'll get picked up. But it's really these exchange ones, really. I know on the ordinal side, OKX does it, and I don't know if there was like an OMB or something that was like at 1/3 the price, and somebody flipped it within, or I think it was maybe a Node Monkey actually, and somebody had listed it, and the floor just took off from 0.1 Bitcoin to like 0.3, and it was somewhat rare. Basically, somebody made 20K in less than an hour.
Not bad. Not bad at all, sir.
Dude, not freaking bad at all. Another Grail sale, and this one over on Bitcoin. So we had the Shadow Hat, or I guess it was the Shadows mint last week, and it was a pricey mint. And again, we're going to get into pricey stuff on Bitcoin. It was an auction. This 600 edition collection sold out at 0.2 Bitcoin. The reason it got that price, though, is it enters you in a raffle to get a Shadow Hat. Shadow Hat's a sub 1K ordinal, so, I mean, it's a special NFT. You had your winner. That winner instantly said, I'm selling this thing, and probably pretty damn smart, at least for today. 2.5 Bitcoin this guy got for his Shadow Hat. Again, sub 1K ordinal. Those are our premium. They are, some of the rarest and, of course, the earliest NFTs over on Bitcoin. So this guy made some bank off that. 100 grand, right? I think that's 100 grand. Big sale.
I think it's a false narrative to say it's an expensive mint. It minted out high, but I don't think it was also because of the raffle. So there was an incentive structure to bid at that level, and I think that was part of it. But I think the majority of people were people that were familiar with Forgotten Ruins because they're a big ETH project. A lot of ETH people missed the Node Monkeys mint, and they realized had they max minted, they would have made a ton of money. So they just kind of threw it. FOMO kicked in. They saw that like a half of the collection was already minted out. They're like, let me just send 0.2, YOLO this motherfucker, and hope for the best. And they didn't really realize the market value, which I valued around here based on little peepos.
You said this. I'll still stick with expensive mint, but I don't put that on the team. When you make something an auction, a Dutch auction, either way, that is not on the team.
It ended up being expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we've seen tons of projects. CryptoBats had this problem. There was a Dutch auction for that. They sold out at, almost 2 ETH at the end, I think. And, people blame the teams for that. And
1.666.
That's it. That was it. So again, yeah, expensive, not the team's choosing. They actually capped it. In fact, it could have gone much higher, right? We could have seen this mint out at half a Bitcoin. So in a way, the team actually helped keep the price down, which is pretty cool. But ultimately, point is just to show Grail selling. It's not just Ethereum. It's not just the punks and the pudgy penguins, but it's across blockchains right now. It's Grail's moving. Man. Hell, even on Solana. See if I can pull it up quick. What is that collection called? The Oogles? Ogles. It'll show up in the 7-day. Boogles. Yeah, legit collection, very small collection, but man, these go almost regularly now for $250,000. We're kind of cooking everywhere. Man, these are cool actually. Any other Grails that maybe exchange hands? Any other big projects this week? Next, because if not, I want to get into the big mints from last week. Of course, that's Crypto Undeads, it's Pizza Ninjas, and then we get into our sweet baby Quantum Cats. Also, not Amigos. We'll touch on that. All right, we'll hit the mints. Yeah. What do you guys say?
I'm still holding my undead.
You have it?
Yeah. I'm always playing the Moon Boy, the Moon Bag.
Day one.
I got mine.
Oh, you did so?
I didn't sell.
Henry's
I'm
the
bad
round
at that. I told you I'm awful at this shit.
Yeah, I'm the round trip whore. For sure.
Henry loves a good round trip for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so
By the way,
yeah.
before you get into it, can I just I've said this like 4 times in the last day. I sold my Ordinal. And I think it was probably my biggest Ordinal win in USD. Like I went into my Xverse wallet. I was like, oh, is that a mistake that I have like thousands of dollars in there? I sold it.
Wait, how much did you sell it for?
I think like 0.05.
Wow.
Here's the thing. I minted it for 1 ETH, but I think ETH at the time was like 1,500. So I think it was like a $500 profit, give or take. But I was surprised that somebody bought it. I'm not gonna lie. Then I had FOMO that I sold it. Like, why does somebody else want it? Why did sold it too early? I've had it listed since I think the summer. So yeah. Anyway, that was my win of the week.
So like I went the opposite direction. Instead of selling, I actually bought a big NFT, like a very pricey NFT. I hope it'll age well. Like immediately right now, it feels bad. It's definitely buying the top.
What did you buy?
But I'm gonna show it.
Golden ratio, I bet.
Yeah, that's it. It's something I do think has a chance, and I don't feel so confident, but I think it has a chance of being. Yeah, I think this could be one of those early, ringer Fidenza type things. Could be. I feel less strong about that after buying it, of course, but early art that helps establish the art scene on Bitcoin, it has its chance. And at the very least, I think it'll hold most of its value. So I'm happy with the purchase. And I got it because it happened to be one of the rarer ones in the collection. So for me, I'm an art collector. I'm a big believer in art on Bitcoin. So it's just kind of a bet on that ecosystem in general. That artist too, I think he's got that little special something. He's picking up followers. People like him. And he's bringing some ETH collections over to Bitcoin. So has a way to bring over maybe a new batch of collectors. So a lot of things going for it. Price is tricky, but the hell, I'm in.
How much are they?
Floor right now, 0.15. So Bitcoin. They are, Bitcoin. Yeah, they are not cheap. I'll say that.
Nice, but you've had your eye on that, so I bet that felt good to actually get something you've actually talked about before.
It's just one of those things. I've had a knack for being early on certain collections that do well. Hell, at one point I had the highest price sale, actually maybe like top 5 on Tezos, like a top 5 all-time sale on Tezos, being early in a collection called Waiting in Afton. That was an FX hash collection. Again, sold it for like 40 grand. Sometimes I can just see the art scene play out a couple years down the road. Others see this too. Like you got guys like Tyler and Debussy, or is it Debussy? I don't know his name, but guys like that are in it for the same reasons. And they were there early art blocks, and they know what those kind of pieces felt like. So they've got in on this collection, also kind of grabbing multiple pieces. So it's something to watch, this collection here. All right. Ninjas. This is obviously one of the biggest mints last week. It was just a couple days ago, really. It was delayed, actually, and ended up minting, I think, Thursday, English. Does that sound right?
It minted Thursday. What's today? Yeah, Thursday sounds right. Okay. If not.
So this Thursday is one I'll say, was a pricey mint. 0.03 Bitcoin. Again, it's funny because we're talking 0.0 whatever, right? Like the number in relation to that currency, it's not crazy. When you start talking US dollar value, it is a lot, but I think people need to just get accustomed to that price over on Bitcoin, because I don't think that's going away. And I think maybe in a way it's good it doesn't. Like if you reinforce that those are the prices and that's what you got to pay to be in the ecosystem, people will accept it. And I know the guys on Bitcoin who have just stacks of coins, who have like just these, there's a lot of very wealthy people over there. They think like that. And as long as there's enough people like that think that way of their coin and what they're willing to spend, then these prices can be supported. So this collection, again, we talked about it at the top. 0.03 mint was at 0.1, maybe a little above for a while. So there was absolutely a 3x in it. Right now down to 0.06. The tech's cool on these too. English, your thoughts on this, and you guys, thoughts on Pizza Ninjas?
I think they ran way too high, and probably from artificial demand on the Ethereum side, because like Easy, and who has a pretty big following, kind of shilled them a little bit. He was bullish on them. I I talked to so many people in ordinals. Nobody really wanted to hold this. It ran way higher than I thought. I thought 0.06 would be the top based on ordinals demand. It seems that we got, being a small collection, it ran. I think you're trying to find true market value right now, which I would put in 0.04 to 0.05. I think that's where it's going to settle.
I buy that a lot more now, knowing the collection size. Like, again, I thought it was a 5,000K, a 5K collection. Now it's just 1,500 is really interesting. In a way, I'm surprised to not see the price higher because of that. But you know it better than me, and you explained some things to me about it.
Well, here's what I'll say. When you have an influencer project, so like the Bodagos, to a certain extent, Wrecked Guy with OSF and Mando being like, you know, macro trader people, but they're basically influencers. They're not necessarily like just a Web3 project, like in the same way that Pudgies is, in the same way that Yuga is. They have like their audience. They're a media company. It tends to be like 1 ETH max. You saw that with Wreck Guy. You see that with Bodagos. There's just kind of like the ceiling that you can't escape because people know what the value is. And it's not going to be anything more than this media company from this influencer. So these minted at 0.5 ETH. I use ETH because people tend to like understand the values better. And I think that even that's a little high. I think 0.3 to 0.7 ETH is kind of the true value. So I wouldn't even be surprised if these eventually get back to mint price.
Now that narrative about kind of the influencers, that, like the price talk, I definitely want to come back to when we get to Quantum Cats, because there's a lot of that at play too. There is a big difference though with I would say a true builder. So that's going to be an interesting chat. Any other quick thoughts from anyone?
Yeah. I have a question, and forgive my ignorance if I'm behind on this, but what are the long-term plans for ordinal collections? I think we've seen ETH projects have to pivot to gaming. We see it with Yuga. Pudgies have their rods. They're coming out with the game. It really seems like, at least for the ETH chain, that gaming is the only way that these NFTs are going to survive and possibly flourish. But what is the plan for these pizza ninjas? What will the plan be for my Bitcoin Boo when I mint it? Genuine question. I don't know the answer. So I don't think gaming is possible on this chain. So I wanted to talk to smarter people and ask that question.
Yeah, well, I think we got the right guys here to answer it. I would say, as of right now, very much like ETH, a lot of people saying they're building and they need to build. A lot of these will be just a PFP. I do think gaming's possible. In fact, I know it is on Bitcoin. I think a lot of people are underestimating what Bitcoin can do. And I think, again, tying this to Quantum Cats, I think they're the ones who are going to show just how capable the Bitcoin blockchain is, with L2s involved. But the tech isn't what people think. It's not just dumb tech. There's a lot of possibilities on the Bitcoin blockchain. I think it's going to be a very robust ecosystem. And that's why I think the opportunities are there, because 95% of the people I'm talking to still think it's just JPEGs and nothing more, and that's all you can do. And I think they're wrong.
Well, I think there's two things to be of note. I think, what does a project have to do to pivot to, or why would they need to pivot to gaming? So there's two separate things at play. The first is, as a project, how do you monetize, right? So I think some of them have to turn to gaming, or maybe events planning, or whatever. They come to keep revenue so they can keep a team and they can keep things. That's different than moving the floor price. I think floor price can be on memes. I think it could be on a whole bunch of other things, but that's not, there's two separate like stakeholders: the people on the team that they're vested as an organization to keep funds rolling. And then there's the community side that just wants something to latch on to, something to speculate on. And I think those are two very different things. And I think the pivot from ETH, because you don't see a lot of new ETH projects coming, a lot of these old ones relied on royalties, and now they have to pivot to something else. They had like, fuck, we're not going to get the royalties. What can we do now? And you see that pivot. I would like to think that the people in ordinals, knowing that there's no royalties from the get-go, some of them are going to fail because they're not going to be able to monetize. But I would like to think that some of them have already thought this through from the beginning and understand how they're going to monetize, if that's gaming, if that's not gaming, if it's just whatever they can think of in terms of monetizing. Do they need to monetize? Can they stay pretty lean with a small community? That type of thing, right? Because if you're pretty lean, I don't really think you need to monetize in a substantial way. A lot of these are just kind of communities, these digital artifacts, collectibles. They just want to keep doing cool shit on Bitcoin. And I think for the most part, with just a couple founders and some volunteer mods, a lot of them can actually do fairly well from a cultural values perspective. Like to run OMB, I don't think that takes much money. And that guy took in loads, I don't know, $5 million, $6 million. He's good for a long time. He provides value just by talking and giving like a certain culture to Bitcoin. And the NFT will go up, the ordinal will go up in value just over time. I think it becomes more collectible. And I don't think he needs to have like this actual like revenue stream to be a project on ordinals.
Also, I think 99% of them go to zero, and no different than any other chain. Some of them are going to make it, exactly to what English said. Like some of them don't. You may not need to be anything other than a community. I do think that there is like an attrition rate for founders if you aren't continuing to make money off of the project. It may dissuade your incentive to like, you may have great intentions, but come back to me in 2 years. When you're not making when you're not making royalties, when you're sitting there
nuts every day.
yeah, and you've heard your community for after the romance phase is over and people are like, hey, what's next, or what are you gonna do? Those founders start to get some atrophy from the community, and I think a lot of them will exit, and I think the cream of the crop will rise and they'll build. And I bet it runs a very similar cycle to what we're seeing on ETH, where you have tons of projects going to get outside capital, which that's a whole other conversation, where I think a lot of those projects are going to end up in the same position that they would be in now without raising. They'll just be there 2 years from now when they've burned through their money in game development that will probably result in very little movement for the project. Because I think this idea that moving in the direction of gaming is where you have to go on mainnet in order to stay relevant, I think it's short-sighted, because very few people are capable of actually making a game that anybody cares about. But all of a sudden, it's like you say you have a game, you say you have a token, and people care. I think it's something that we're gonna see the effects of this last kind of meta a couple of years from now, when people are like, oh, that's the game. Whereas, back to English's point, if you have a solid community, you have a place for people to vibe. They're not in it just for the money. They're in it, and this is why I really like Ordinals, because it's got some OG ETH vibes to it. I think those will be projects that will sustain themselves much better than the ones that feel like they've got to develop the next, whatever AAA game on Bitcoin, or the revenue streams that they think that they need to have to keep building, when in fact, like, they just may need a place for people to chill.
Man, what a perfect take. Perfect. Like, I think I agree with absolutely every word you just said there. And especially the gaming narrative that everyone thinks that's the path for every project, and that's how you make it, and that's your product. Not going to end well for 99% of them. So great take there. I want to move us on to our next biggest mint of the week. This one was pretty fucking wild, to be honest. Crypto Undeads, guys. Woo-hoo. We just talked about them just briefly, but what do you think of that mint? What do you think about everything that led up to the mint, the hype, the energy, I guess the game plan to bring in all these ETH collections, right? The whitelist just to every Ethereum collection they could get it out to. And did that actually do more harm than good? I think maybe, but thoughts on Crypto Undeads?
Still haven't learned. What came out of the gates at like 20, went to 17. Like, greed sometimes keeps you from taking gains, thinking it could go higher. But what's it settled at? 6.5, 7,
They're
give or take?
7 now, yeah.
Still 3x, give or take? It's still a good, it's still a game. Yeah, it's still a game.
Here's what stands out to me. Actually, and it's a little better. Oh, no, maybe not. So close to 20% of the collection is listed, right? Like, that 10% is kind of the magic number. They were damn near 2,000 though last night. Like, that's wild. And to me, that is exactly what happened when you bring in these people who don't give a shit about Solana, really. Like, they were happy to try and make gains there, but they don't give a shit about Solana. They don't know anything about the project. There's no attachment to it. What do you think they're going to do with their whitelist once they get it? If they're in profits, most of those guys are going to dump it because who cares? And I think you're seeing that with that very, very high, listed percentage. Still, I mean, they could recover, and recover isn't even the word because, like you said, they're actually up. But you never know. They could have a nice game plan, and they are teasing a lot. And I do think they're going to have a token. They do have some gamification with the backgrounds that they've said at the very least, but I think they got more that they're cooking, and hopefully will surprise people a bit. Won't be shocked to see them back around 15, even for just periods of time.
I think that's a great take, man. For real. Because I keep thinking like, when I say I don't care about the community, I'm not in it. I don't have time for it. But it seems like it's just playing that pattern. Like we're gonna sit here, go sideways for a couple weeks, few weeks till some news comes out. It pumps. You get up into that mid-teen range, sits there for a few days or a week, and then same type of thing happens. Comes back down to to reality. So, but this is that's the issue with not having a very organic community and just having a whole bunch of people that are dumping. I think it goes to show how difficult it is to get people to care about things right now other than gains. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. Nothing wrong with people taking gains, but
and that was the main highlight, I think, like behind the whole veil of bringing ETH and Solana people together, blah 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 blah. I think it's very clear now that the main selling point has been this degen play, right? Like from like little growth hack things, like putting in the whole we're looking for a tokenomics expert. Now you have the whole you have until Sunday to pick your undead and have day one status, so don't trade it away. I feel like you're just gonna see a prolonged chain of events there, like dripping out, enticing you to continue holding. And I do think they do have a plan to release some type of token and stuff like that. Which, like you, Henry, I was lucky. I got 2 allocations. I flipped out of them, and then for profit, and then just got one that I'm gonna ride. Like a moon boy, like a degen play with that intention in mind. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, you never know, right? Like if it can become like a fanatical degen community just focused on that, it can be something. I don't know. What did you guys think of the art specifically?
Well, I'm glad you brought up the art, because this was my take on genuine undead. So markets are always forward looking. So I think the fact that they did an A+ marketing campaign, and I don't think you can take that away. That's why it was valued at 20 SOL. It was the value proposition. Okay, we're going to be the punks on Bitcoin. I'm sorry, on SOL. And so they did this really A+ marketing. What can they do next, right? And then you heard Dollar talk a little bit on Spaces, not too much about the project, but just hearing him, and he sounded competent. But what happened is, the only touch point that you could follow up, because you have no substance behind this project, is the art. So when they deliver some kind of art that looks like 10 other collections, that's where they misfired. And the fact that they screwed up the mint, I know they made people whole, but there was people that had pre-sale, that paid pre-sale, that couldn't get it. So now you have 2 misfires. So as Henry said, it's still a 3x. It's still doing well, but because the confidence, they set the bar so high and said, hey, can these people deliver? Had they put like something that was completely unique, like Node Monkey's art, that blew everybody's mind, it would have taken off, because they were saying, okay, the project was, I'm not going to show you anything. I'm not going to show you the art. I'm not going to tell you about the project. Just trust me, bro. This shit's going to be special. And the only thing that you had was the marketing campaign. So you said, all right, cool. Market's hot. I'm going to fucking degen this. Everybody's pumped about it. Then you had 2 disappointments. Had they had art that slapped and then immediately said token, this shit would have been 30 to 50 SOL, because they would be like, damn, this motherfucker knows. Like the same thing with, you have a Moonbirds cap. Like in the beginning, it was all based on Kevin Rose. He's this fucking software crazy motherfucker. He's going to make this some crazy, crazy thing. So if the art slapped, people would have been like, damn, these guys are onto something. They're not telling you what it is, but it's going to be really, really dope. But they fucked up the mint. They gave art that's aesthetically pleasing, but not particularly unique. I've seen this 2 or 3 times on Ethereum. It's good, but it's worth maybe a 3x, right? It's maybe worth 6 SOL, but it's definitely not. It's not like the punks. When you say punks the new punks is not going to look like punks, right? Like Bored Ape didn't look like punks. So when you say punks, it's not that it's going to be pixel art. It's going to be something completely new. That's a new archetype, and this wasn't it.
Yep. Agreed.
Mid at best.
Mid at best.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine, but like, you either need awful, like to follow up that kind of hype they had going into the mint, you needed atrocious art, like offensively bad art, or you needed something that changes the game. You do anything other than those two things, and you're at where you're at now. Just people like, okay, then I got nothing to be in this for. There's no narrative at this point. And the narrative that is there is the narrative we've seen 100,000 times over. Everything you guys mentioned. Maybe a token, maybe some fun stuff. Maybe he's a good builder. Let's wait and see. It's not enough. People are on to the next thing. Again, we'll see how it plays out. I'm holding. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for everybody, and I genuinely mean that. But I think mid. This is just mid across the board. Moisty,
I'm holding too.
Now.
Although I had this thought, I'm holding as well. But I had this thought yesterday. Is it dumb to be holding? Like when I say dumb, what I mean is if you're in it just for the gains, I'm sitting here thinking, well, should I not just take like $400 gains and be happy with it? That's how you play the bull market right now. Like you didn't hit the all-time high, didn't sell at 17 or 20 or 15 or even 11, but like gains are gains, move on to the next one if you have literally no intention of becoming part of the community.
I mean,
that's what I'm struggling with.
That is the game. It's sell it while you got something there and grow that money faster somewhere else. Can you grow it faster parked in that community, or can you grow it faster thrown it in a daub?
Well, and the crazy part is that like that same day that Undead was minting, you had another project that really like went under the radar for most people, which was Sujiko, right? Which does have like the builder there does have like a cult-like following. He's been building like since a hackathon that everybody fucking, backed, and he's actually building a product behind it, right? Like NFT perps on Solana, and you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar there's going to be a privilege for holding that NFT and a potential, token down the line. Like I'm pretty certain of it. And yet nobody looked at it because it was overshadowed by the hype of the Undead, which is bonkers to me, right? Like like the difference is, I don't know, gargantuan.
Yeah, I'm very interested in this, by the way. I think that might be my play, is flipping out of the Undead and into one of these.
I wouldn't think it's a bad idea, to be honest. They revealed today, by the way, folks, in case you're curious. But yeah, this is one thing that when I did sell out of it, I looked over and I was like, okay, I'm gonna, and that's what I did. I went into this. Like I said, I do hold one Undead just for the lulz, for the culture, see what happens. But it's crazy to me that like here you have somebody that's actually building like an actual product, and it's if you are looking for gains or degen, like I think this is a way more solid guaranteed play, right? Like you can see the trajectory, there's actual roadmap, you can see the product already, you can go to the website. And again,
product is what?
The Solana maxis, like they've been there for some time. Yeah, you can go to the perp site already. But everybody was going for the CryptoPunks of Solana, I guess.
You know what that looks like? That looks like Azuki and Captains.
Go to the.
I was just gonna say that. That looks like a Captain's ripoff. Oh, sorry, not ragging on it, Poppins.
No, hey man, I'm not offended.
Is that what I was like? It looks just like Meme Land.
I'll look for it, and maybe it's that. Or maybe you can link out from that. Maybe I'll check the Discord. Maybe I was able to like get into it through the Discord.
See if you can find him. I'm just curious what they're building. All right, to me, I guess the story I'm looking forward to the most, it is the Quantum Cats. I think they're going to be the biggest thing people are talking about from now till next week, and probably beyond that, because they are doing something rather important. But the Quantum Cat really is kicking off with a massive, massive auction over on Sotheby's right now. Does he have an official name, English? Is this like the Genesis Quantum Cat? Like, or, I don't know what FAR is. But, oh yeah, it says Genesis Cat. So yeah, this is the Quantum Cat.
Sorry,
Genesis Cat.
I was just doing something.
The kitty cat that birthed them all.
So yeah, so it's the Genesis cat. It's the only one of one, and Far is the artist who he's actually from Ethereum, generative artist.
Okay.
And so it's Far for Taproot Wizards. So Far is the artist for Taproot Wizards. It is part of the collection. It's the Genesis one of one, the only one of one in the collection.
$120,000 bid on this right now, and this still has a few days left in it. 2 days to go still. I wonder how high it goes. 120 would be a great price for it, but my gut's telling me this goes a little bit higher, maybe quite a bit higher. We'll see. There's just so much hype and attention on the Taproot Wizards, on everything those guys are doing. Now, I'm trying to think how to set this up other than just a brief overview of Quantum Cats. These were teased out really just maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe even less. Like, it is very, very new. Ultimately, though, a 3,333 edition NFT collection or Ordinals collection. And, man, they're not going to be easy to get for a couple reasons. First, you got to do a quest to get a whitelist. And that quest is making content around the Quantum Cats and more specifically, what it is the Quantum Cats are here for, what they're trying to do, what tech are they trying to usher in. And once you get past that, you got another 1 or 2 quests. And then finally, the mint price. That is, we'd almost say that's part of the quest. See if you can find a way to make 0.1 Bitcoin, because that's what they're going to cost you. So mint details here.
But you think we'll be able to get them on public sale if we really want to spend 0.1?
I think 1,000% you can get it at public. English?
Okay.
I would agree. I think it's hard to convince 3,333 people to do the quest and have 0.1. It's kind of like two inverse things. Like, I think there'll be like 30%, 50%.
So English, my question there to you would be then what's the incentive for people to do the quest?
Oh, just in case that it's kind of counterintuitive. I mean, that's just a speculation. So there's a couple of things, right? So the quest is also quest 4. So if you've been doing quest 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you want a wizard, you're probably going to want to do this, because if not, you fall behind, right? So that's one aspect. If you do the quest really well, there are going to be 20 cats that are free. So that's essentially $4,500 worth. And if you believe that the demand will exceed the amount of people in whitelist just securing your spot, right? So if you don't mind doing this, if you're part of the Taproot Wizards like ideology, you enjoy doing this, it might benefit you to do it, right? But if you just want a cat and say, hey, listen, I'll take my chances on doing public because I don't believe that 3,000 people are going to grind and pay 0.1, just wait it out. And if you have to buy secondary, buy secondary. That would be my advice. I can't say how many people have enrolled. It is more than 3,000. I'll tell you that by a good amount. Do I believe
for wizards or for cats?
For cats specifically,
Cats,
for this quest? Yeah. I can't say how many, but it's substantially more than 3,000 people have enrolled, and I don't believe 3,000. This is just my guess. Maybe 5,000 people do it. Who knows, right? But I don't think that that's the case. Based on other quests, about 3,000 is kind of that sweet spot. That's what traditionally we've seen for the other quests. This is a little bit more comprehensive, and this is still quest 4, so it's possible. My gut feeling, 50% of the people do it, maybe a little bit more, and there'll be a good amount. But that being said, first come, first serve might be a bloodbath, because there's tons of people on Ethereum that will be really happy to buy this at 0.1. You saw them buy.
Flip it. Yeah.
You've seen plenty of Node Monkey people pay 3 BTC for the aliens, 1 BTC for the golds, without even thinking, because these people have fucking money. These punk people, these squiggles people. So they're going to see it. They're going to be a no-brainer. So maybe, so maybe 1,500 of them. You saw how fast like the Shadow hats sold out in 1 hour at 0.2. You don't think we could sell probably 1,500 of them at 0.1 in less than 10 minutes?
And here's the comparison. Here's where you can try to wrap your head around that price. A 10K collection, and granted, just about the best over on Bitcoin, but a 10K collection is holding a 0.16 floor right now. I would argue the Taproot Wizards are the bigger, more significant, maybe the more important builders, project, whatever you want to call it. And again, just it being a 3K collection, starting at 0.1. Yeah, I think that price is justified from the start. Also, when we get into tech, you'll maybe hear a little more why. But I think sustainable, and I think it'll actually be up on that on secondary markets too.
English, and you mentioned, this is quest 4 if you were wanting to get a wizard. Like,
Yeah.
Is it too late to go back and do quest 1 through 3 if you're still looking to do that? It is, right?
It is, it is. But that being said, if you do any one quest really well, that will qualify you for a wizard. So there's kind of like this duality, right? So like if you there's going to be winners of each quest, and that will guarantee you a wizard. But just you doing them counts for something. So after, like, I don't know, I'm going to make up a number. There's 2,000 wizards, actually 2,121. Let's say 200 of them are given out from each quest. 20 over 10 quests, let's call it. They're going to go back and see who did all of them, and maybe they'll say, okay, this guy did all of them, let's get him into the next tier. They'll fill that up. Okay, this person did 4, 8 out of the 10, such and so forth. So there is a cumulative effect. So if you just want to do like the bare minimum, you're not trying to be like the winner, that accumulation kind of idea is very important. So if you want a wizard, I would say definitely keep doing the quests, including this quest.
It's one of those interesting things. Like, I've never been one to grind for any whitelist or anything like that. I hate hoop jumping. I think it's a cheap shot. I fucking despise it until I saw this. And the reason why I'm on board is because of the proposal, or how you guys are implementing it. I think is a fantastic way, like, to educate others on, the particularities of Bitcoin, which I think is important, like, to at least have you don't have to have a firm grasp of everything, right? But I do think, like, as we move further into this multi-chain Web3 world, I've said it once, I've said it again, it's a language that you need to learn how to speak. And the more informed you are, I think just the better collector you will be, the better member you will be of the community. And I think in this particular case, you guys have really knocked it out of the park. And what I see is like a very noble intention to disseminate information, which is very different from many of these other hoop jumping allow list allocation games that go on. So and it's funny because I have been in other groups where I've seen them, and it's the same comments, like, I hate hoop jumping, I'm not going to go through that bullshit. And I'm like, it's a little different than this one. This one's kind of cool.
Well,
like,
yeah,
I wouldn't mind taking part of it and like having your voice out there, right? Or say, like, look, like, I actually grinded for this and I did it, and here's the proof, here's my content, or whatever, right? Like,
and here's the thing too. So there's that aspect of it. We think that, yeah, there is like a public good, a public benefit to this, both for you learn and you make awareness. I think part of it as well is that one of the things with the Taproot wizards, they really want to do like that 1-to-1 allocation, and it's hard to do that without like Sybil attack. Like, even like Trevor stuff, like, it's still, you grinded, his ninja alerts thing, and you could have got that botted. So when you link it to each person's Twitter account, you see them doing like this quest, who you're giving that wizard to, right? So we don't want 100 people getting one wizard, like doing these collabs, doing, the collab manager pockets, 5 of them, all that other stuff. So if we can get it to where everybody gets one wizard, I think that's good for the collection. I think that's good just for like the ethos of it, and knowing that, all right, this was allocated, it's a curated people. We know people are going to sell and people are going to flip, people take profits, but we did our best to put our wizards in the hands of people that really care about ordinals, really cares about BTC, and is willing to at least put forth that effort. And
but guys, we got to get to the really important part, like putting all this effort into talking about the project itself. But it's like, what is it we're talking about, and why do they want this info out there, right? This isn't your ordinary PFP. This isn't your ordinary ordinal or NFT. You see on the screen here, it says they're not regular. It says it right there. They're not regular inscriptions. They evolve, right? So again, the conversation of Bitcoin, it's not smart enough to do games. It's not smart enough to do this or that. It actually is. And OpCat, which is some operational code, is part of how it can get there. That is ultimately what these quantum cats are for. It's to show that the tech can be used for more than we've seen happen on Bitcoin yet. But truthfully, this actually existed on the Bitcoin blockchain at its inception, I believe, at the very least. At one point, this was disabled. But I guess, long story short, some things that this can do, and I'm just going to like bullet point it. I don't know it that well because it does get pretty technical, but you guys can fill in some of the blanks. This could potentially lead to some type of smart contract. right? There's something that this does where it joins different messages or different code, and it allows you to do things. It makes Bitcoin programmable. So I've heard things, people say things like this enables more functionality with L2s. This may lead to, or would lead to, dexes on Bitcoin. This would lead to bridges on Bitcoin. All of these things that, again, Ethereum did, and it's why we value Ethereum so much, and why we say, well, Bitcoin's different. It's always just going to be a place you store or preserve something. With OpCat enabled, it's not. It becomes a network that you can do maybe many of the same things that Ethereum could do, maybe more. I don't know yet. Again, I think this is all just tip of the iceberg. But hell, I even saw like whitelist, waitlists, criteria for spending limits on wallets, wallet security. These are all things that OpCat being re-enabled on Bitcoin through a fork, by the way. So this is a major deal. But that is what OpCat would actually usher in, and why I think this project is so significant. It's not a bet on the picture. It's a bet on technology and the people who are hopefully going to drive that tech. English, I got to throw to you because I think this is more in your wheelhouse. But what more can OpCat do, and why do we want it and need it?
So the thing with OpCat, as it's explained to me, just it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife that just allows for like compound technology. So really, it comes down to the devs that are going to be able to, what they're going to be able to build on top of it. But there's like a lot of products and a lot of innovation that people have done on testnet, and they either had to stop the project or stop the idea because they just needed OpCat. They're like, fuck, if I just had OpCat, I could have done X, Y, and Z. So I don't think that we will know until we implement it, right? So I think you can put it on testnet, and you can have OpCat in testnet because that's what testnet is for. But when you're not incentivized from a financial aspect, and you can't have like testers use your product, because nobody's going to, like, you might get 10 people on testnet that are genuinely curious. But if you don't have people that are incentivized from a financial standpoint to start speculating on what you can do, the innovation just doesn't go anywhere, right? People get tired. People are like, all right, cool. Like, okay, yeah, we can do this, but now we have to actually go through the bureaucratic process of potentially doing it, right? So are you going to spend a year, 2 year developing something that's going to lead to zero financial gains? Right? That's the incentive. The incentive is like, let me create innovation and I can better my life. I can, sustain my family, do whatever the case, become a millionaire. So it's just the opcode. Like you said, it's something that Satoshi put into the code from the very beginning, actually. And at some point, I think just a year after he launched it, he took out like 10 different opcodes. And so this is one of them that, because it was taken out initially, because basically it could have fried your computer. So because it could have compound exponentially, the compounding, the computing type of the computing power as essentially, and it just compounds it. And you're running all these nodes, and if you're just running on a regular laptop, it just might turn it into overdrive. So the idea with like Solana and all these stuff, you pay for like $15,000 for a node because it is substantially just higher in terms of what it needs. Bitcoin itself, it's more decentralized because anybody can. Well, at some point, there was a limit set on the ability for it to stack. And so we actually have a quantifiable amount of where we know the max can be. And so that's no longer a problem. So a lot of people, not just the Taproot wizards, were talking for years like, fuck, it's no longer a problem. Why don't we try it, right? The problem, the threat that existed before no longer exists. So let's just do it. And why hasn't it happened? It's just a cultural thing. It's become on Bitcoin that people don't want to change. It works. Let's not fuck it up. We want this as a store of value, a hedge against inflation, a digital gold. Let's not become
And
like
nothing else.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I love this OpCat campaign that you guys are running, right? It's like a great way to shine a light on this and create some awareness about it. From what I understand, like you're not gonna have Turing complete contracts, Huda. So like to expect the same level of like smart contracts that you can do on Ethereum, I don't see that being possible.
With BitVM.
With OpCat.
With OpCat and BitVM on top of it, you will have Turing complete.
Okay, but now you're adding another layer, right? Which it's, to me, and I'm all for it.
But you need those you need those steps, right? You need the OpCat, then you need BitVM.
I definitely think that it'll unleash like a lot of different potential. Having said that, with that VM, now I don't know, I think you can go down a whole bunch of different rabbit holes. It's like what potential L2s and VMs, and we're seeing those happen in real time, right? Like I think Bitcoin VM just launched from New Bitcoin City, which I'm really stoked about. And I think all of these, if Opcat was to be enabled, would have some form of integration to try to leverage that. But like siloed in and by itself, I think Opcat is already like a tremendous boon for Bitcoin if it was enabled, right? Like my understanding of it is basically a way to be able to have different stacks of code reference each other and basically have code to be able to create like more elaborate covenants or smart contracts, however you want to call it, right? Like, but I potentially, if I see it as like even if you weren't to do the VM part, right, and just leave that to other L2s, and Opcat is just a siloed thing in and of itself. If Bitcoin is to become the global world currency, right, and you eventually get to have these tremendous like settlements between, say, nation states or network states, as Balaji likes to talk about, right? Like you're talking about like some serious fucking money, right? And if you can abstract any L2 from it and just keep it within Bitcoin and Opcat and just say, okay, if this, then that, right? Like this was the agreement that we both came upon. I think that just for that reason, it is very, very powerful. And it is something that I'm all for trying to push and enable, right, in Bitcoin, because like you said, English, it is very much a cultural thing that BTC maxis are still resisting. Although I don't know, what's the sentiment on your end? Like, do you feel the tides are starting to turn thanks to ordinals? I mean, obviously the miners are very happy, right? But I don't know. Like I always think like, who's the ultimate maxi that we need to turn to enable to really feel like, okay, like we're getting everybody else on our side now.
Coco.
Dude, yeah. What are Coco's thoughts on it?
I'm not gonna lie, he's a Bitcoin maxi. For some reason, he went into doginals versus ordinals, but man, we are working on him, and I think we're going to see him come around. And if that kind of guy comes into ordinals and can spend the kind of money he has, keeping in mind, just on his Ronin bags, he's generating just without even his node, 5,000 Ronin a day. What is that? $12,000 a day just from his run without his node. I bet he's making $15,000-$20,000 a day off Ronin. Just one token he has. You bring a guy like that over to ordinals, and he starts to get that vibe. And obviously, he's super big in the Ronin world axes. You could effectively be bringing in an entirely different ecosystem into ordinals with a guy like that.
You bring in his followers, the people who just degen where he degens, and he does have a big audience of people who do exactly that.
His apostles.
Yeah, I mean that's it. So I mean TLDR on Opcat and the tech specifically, an enhancement to the Bitcoin network, right? Ultimately may allow it to do things it as it is right now can't do. To allow it to do things it initially was able to do, it was removed because I guess you could, break processes with it. Now you reintroduce it, and as English said, well, it's fixed now. You're not going to run into those issues, but anytime you're introducing something new code, new processes, something new could happen, right? So you do introduce the possibility that things can go wrong here.
I think we should go through some drawbacks, right? Like that you guys asked to talk about, right? Because it does add another layer of complexity. From a builder perspective, right? Like not everybody's going to be proficient in developing these smart contracts initially. I think that's something that can be abstracted away also thanks to like AI, like the auditing of such code as well. I'm not saying you're going to be cleared from it, but I think with time, like that can not be such a holdup, right? But there is that extra level of smart contract risk that you'd be adding on top of it, right? Sure. Like the potential to have bugs, and fixing bugs on Bitcoin is not the same as on Ethereum. So you really want to make sure it's functioning correctly from the get-go. But
it'll happen you don't expect to see those things happen on Ethereum. We saw that whole open library of contracts. I can't remember the group that's behind it, but like you introduce some type of contracts, smart contracts or programmability, and you're going to open the door for that stuff. It will happen, but is the risk worth the reward? And the
100%.
reward meaning just the buff to the whole ecosystem. On screen, right here, Franklin Templeton's saying that ordinals and L2s, they shouldn't be ignored. Like they're integral to increasing the value of Bitcoin and that network itself. So people see it. You need to enable something like OpCat to actually have that happen, though.
I mean, Huda, I always point to this latest, like when the Ukraine war started happening, right? And the US, FINRA, and all of them went over to Switzerland and froze all these like Russian bank accounts that were denominated in US dollars, right? Like, no friend of what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, right? Like, but you essentially weaponized the US dollar, and you showed the world that it is a centralized control financial rails, right? And that anybody, it's a slippery slope, right? Like I know that people got up there and said, yeah, like this was, there was a reason to do this. But I think that was, to me, that was just kneecapping your, like the fucking death knell for the current financial system, to reveal that to the rest of the world, that if you don't play by the rules, if anything happens that for whatever reason Uncle Sam decides it's not right, they can freeze your account, is, to me, it's absolute sacrilege, right? And like that's a reason you want decentralized digital currencies, right? In the first place. And something like this, something like OpCat here, would have been able to, I mean, obviously from the self-sovereignty point, if Putin would have held that in Bitcoin, he wouldn't have had that issue, right? But again, think about it, when these nations like have these smart contracts, whether it's for petroleum or something else, these are like these are very sensitive to data points, and these contracts cannot just be manipulated left and right, for whatever reason you might have. So something like OpCat could have really helped in this situation, right? Like it's the stuff that you're trying to stop.
Exactly that. All right, I'm going to move us on. First, I'm going to show us or show people watching the quest, right? I'm just showing you in Discord what are the quest steps. First off, get in the Taproot Wizards Discord just because they are that important. The conversations that are happening there are that important. But for the quest, you go start by picking if your team dead or your team alive. Once you do that, you pick a cat that you like, I think just for the heck of it, but you're sending out a tweet. And then at that point, you are going on the quest itself. So part one is, I think it's the tweet where you're tweeting out the picture of the cat that you actually selected. You got to tag the appropriate, I guess, string or whatever. So I'm Team Dead. I think English and Biggie are as well.
Yes.
From there, you make some content, kind of like we just did here, this little short segment on OpCat and Quantum Cats. You got to make some written content or some video content. You need to put something out there to help teach people what OpCat is and why it matters. And then finally, you go out in the wild and you make some video content of you going, and this is just for fun, by the way, but you do really go ask people, where's your OpCat? Go out there and just make some memeable videos, have some fun with it, show people the picture and talk about, again, where's my OpCat? You tweet those out as well. Again, follow those instructions closely, but that's your quest, and in my opinion, it is well worth doing. I really do think those Quantum Cats, even at 0.1 Bitcoin, just about the most special collection that'll be on Bitcoin yet, until Taproot Wizards are out, though.
Now, why do we want the cat?
Like, Biggie, hold on. Before you go on, Biggie, that last take that you just did, that's perfect. Ask Huda to send you that last clip, post it to Twitter, and that whole take about like BitVM and getting into there, getting the pros and cons, that's enough. You did it as a group. We're all Team Dead.
More. I'm a
okay.
DJ.
Well, okay. We'll do whatever you want. You can add it to a video complete. I just wanted to say, like, this is pretty much what they're looking for, right? So you don't have to overthink it. If you want something bigger, better,
yeah. So if you guys, Moisty, Henry, you guys too, like, it's like, if you want, that tweet goes out, everybody here can be a part of that. Quest 1, we'll see if it's satisfied for everyone here, but just
that's the one question I wanted to ask, is like, we're treated like, even if this, at least 3 of us here, right, that are like looking for cats, we tag all three of us here, we're considered individually for cats, or it's
So-
like considered as like a one team cat kind of thing?
So the team thing, I think ultimately it's going to be the captains that decide, but the team thing I think is most appropriate for the third one. If you do something for part 2 like we just did, it has to be very clear what your contribution is. So like if this was the whole thing, ideally you would tag your team, but you would put like an excerpt of what you did, right? So that whole take that you did, or various takes, and it could include me in it, but it's your take. If it was like the flyer one, maybe somebody designs the flyer, somebody does the videoing, somebody's the one that walks.
And
Guys,
so,
can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
Because we're going to lose Henry here in just a minute, and
Okay.
we do have a story to get to, and then I want to circle back.
I
to
can
this
talk to you
part.
after, Biggie. Yeah, we'll talk after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Henry brought this up at the start of the show that there was big Coinbase versus SEC news, and I hadn't heard this at all. So I got something on screen. It's touching on it. This
Don't
is
scare me, man.
I think it was good news.
No, this was so like if you've been we've been following the regulatory kerfuffle for a little over a year now since Yuga got their investigation was made public. So the developments we've had within the last 3 or 4 months, just to set the stage a little bit, is we had Judge Torres. This is all out of the Southern District of New York, which typically is the district that rules on these larger kind of financial matters. It's where like SBF went to trial. So Judge Torres had ruled in the XRP case, and there were some wins for XRP in that, one of which was at the secondary trading of also, I'm paraphrasing because she didn't actually officially rule that the secondary trading was not a security, but she didn't rule that it was a security. So that was like a benefit for the crypto space. So everybody was happy. XRP felt free. It was kind of determined that their initial sales were securities. So then we talked about this, I think, last week, just before the end of the year, this douchebag judge out of the Southern District of New York, Judge Farkoff, ruled against. I think that's his name, is Farkoff. I think.
Of course it is. Of course it is. What else would it be?
He ruled, and I guess this guy's a little bit of a media whore. Like he likes attention. He likes to rule against you. Keep in mind, almost like the Supreme Court, these people all work in the same building, right? They're like colleagues of each other. And I guess he kind of likes to antagonize a little bit and kind of fade what other people are saying. So against Terraform, Duquan, that whole case, he ruled that all sales were securities, including the secondary sales on exchanges, because this all has to do with the Howey test. And so he's saying that anybody who bought on the secondary would have reasonable expectations that they were investing in a company with the expectation of profit, no different than the initial buyers at the ICO would have. So this judge in the Coinbase versus SEC, or SEC versus Coinbase, Coinbase filed a motion to dismiss. Okay, so do you remember when the SEC filed a suit against Coinbase and they listed like 12 or 13 tokens? I think Matic, Sand, ETH. There was a whole bunch of tokens that they listed at Sol. Yep, unregistered sales of securities. And Coinbase was like, "What the fuck? Like, we've asked for clarification on this stuff. We tried to get our stuff approved through you guys. You kind of ghosted us." And so now what just happened was Coinbase had filed a motion to dismiss, and so that's what this particular meeting, if you want to call it, was about. So Coinbase is just like, "Hey, we want you to just throw this out, Judge, and here's why." Well, this particular judge, Judge Falia, is the same judge who ruled in the Uniswap case. Very proficient in the tech and in crypto compared to like Judge Farkoff. So like she understands the lingo. When you listen to her, you understand she totally gets it. So there were some really interesting things that came from it. The first is, now this is legal experts that are saying this, we shouldn't expect that the judge will dismiss it. It is possible. Like I've seen some people say like 70% chance, but I've heard some really intelligent attorneys' takes on it who have said, all the SEC has to do in order to be able to take this to trial is be able to prove that their theory is plausible. So it's a very, very low bar that the SEC has to meet to go to trial. So for the judge to just dismiss the case altogether might be difficult. But she has said some really important things in this last I don't know what you would technically call it because it wasn't a trial, but in this case for the motion to dismiss. So some of which she has said is, number one, so the SEC alleges that these are all securities, and the judge has asked why, like what part of the Howey test applies, to these particular 12 or 13 tokens. And it's funny because the SEC attorney comes back and says, well, Your Honor, it's computer code. Almost kind of proving the point of what the Coinbase is saying, which is this is computer code. This is not an investment contract. Keeping in mind that the Howey test has always involved an investment contract. Them using it, the SEC using crypto without an investment contract is it's a completely new theory. And so the judge has said, like, what part of Howey does this in fact violate? The SEC had a really difficult time being able to explain that. And then the judge actually referenced the Howey test and said, we've had a really good run for 90 years with the Howey test. It has covered a multitude of assets and asset classes. But what we're talking about here is something completely different in referring to crypto. So she it's the first time we've heard a judge say that the Howey test, which we've all said doesn't apply to this. It's a very different asset class altogether. This judge kind of showed her hand a little bit, saying we've had a good run for 90 years, and it's time to kind of change the laws per se. Really thinking that it should be Congress who should in fact be legislating this versus a judge ruling on it. Okay, so then the SEC wanted to prove a point because the judge said, why is it that your predecessors in the SEC have determined that Bitcoin is not a security? What makes it different? And the SEC tried to say that, well, it's because Bitcoin doesn't have an ecosystem, of which like the Coinbase was able to kind of destroy them on that argument. Like to say that Bitcoin doesn't have an ecosystem or a community around it when you have proposals that are put forth, by the Bitcoin community that ultimately, get potentially passed, is just kind of a whole ludicrous thought process. Okay, so we had the Bitcoin part. What was really interesting is that she said her concern with the SEC's take on this is that and I'm paraphrasing, is that it almost seems limitless. That by their definition, any collectible, and we've all said this, like anything could be a security. And she's like, I need you to explain to me how this is different because with what you're saying, anything could be a security. Any collectible could be a security. And they were trying to tell her like, well, no, that's not possible because like a baseball card, and that was the example they used, could never go up in value based on influence of other people. And I think, and then they referenced burning for scarcity, but the Coinbase had come back with some really great arguments about the collectibles, saying that like it's ludicrous. In fact, I think the judge said, by your definition, like Beanie Babies could be securities, and that her issue with what they're trying to do is that it could open the court system up to like a multitude of lawsuits against these companies, these token issuers, and potentially other assets that are not digital by ruling against these 12 or 13 tokens and specifically Coinbase. So it was paraphrasing, like it was very, very bullish that this judge understands the crypto space. And because we've had two different judges that have had kind of opposing opinions out of the Southern District of New York, this third judge, which is also out of the Southern District, who seems to be leaning towards everything we've been saying. Like, if this is a security, what isn't a security? And why is Bitcoin a commodity, but all of these other tokens are now securities? And she had referenced the secondary market. Again, now keeping in mind, she ruled on the Uniswap stuff. And so very familiar with the terminology in crypto, understands the protocols to a certain degree. And I think even if it goes to trial, which it sounds like it probably will, even though I think there's a lot of people just hopium that they'll throw this out in the motion to dismiss. Oh, here's another, small point that I heard an attorney who was commenting on it. He said it's actually better if it doesn't have, if she doesn't do the motion to dismiss, because it'll immediately get appealed. Whereas if she rules on it, if it goes to trial and she's actually able to rule on it based on, like the evidence and the discovery that makes it into the actual trial, then it becomes case law, which makes it much stickier. So, sorry, I'm doing probably a really shitty job paraphrasing, but I'm kind of excited about it because it's just, I listened to like 2.5 hours of the trial, and it was just really, really interesting and bullish to hear somebody who like gets it. It was like Hester Pierce from the SEC, her, the one that is pro crypto, ruled like, talked about with Stoner Cats, how it's kind of ridiculous that we're calling that a security. Meanwhile, Star Wars collectibles from the 70s that went up in value, how are they any different? This judge sounds very much like Hester Pierce to me.
Man, that's incredible. I wasn't expecting anything close to that kind of news. Nothing like it. I've been expecting the SEC to come in and wreck things this year, and I know they want to, but great to hear there's people who do get it, who are knowledgeable, and they're the ones who actually make the decisions for the most part, or they have a big say in it. So that sounds incredible. I have on screen maybe their chief legal officer at Coinbase. Yeah, exactly that. Just giving his thoughts on it too. Man.
Yeah.
Again, really, really awesome to hear all of that. And you explained it really well. So thank you.
There's great videos that you can probably find on Twitter or YouTube of like intelligent attorneys. In fact, I didn't know this, but one of the attorneys for Coinbase was head of enforcement at the SEC for a long time. So like they have a stacked legal team, and I think a lot of us thought that Coinbase would carry the water for the space. This honestly, this could be fucking major. She's going to be ruling within the next 2 to 6 weeks on whether she'll just dismiss the case. But if this goes to trial, I think it could be really bullish, because it's like you finally have somebody who sees the overreach of the SEC, and that was part of her point.
She was actually saying that they're overstepping.
Yes. It's like you're hearing a judge say what we've been saying.
ETF. Potentially bigger, right?
Oh, it's so funny to me because this was massive news this week. Like, this was massive news. And it's like you saw some comments on Twitter, but normally you hear like the Gary Gensler, or you see Gary Gensler's trending on X, and there was none of that. No different than the Farkoff ruling, before the end of the year, where like we didn't really, in fact, it was Kong's attorneys who told me about it. I wasn't aware of it. Obviously we have a legal team and we stay in touch with them just about market conditions, regulations, etc. But this is good. This could potentially be really awesome for the space, because it could effectively slam the door on the SEC and their what do they call that? Regulation by enforcement. Yeah, for real, man. This could be big.
Dude, that's awesome.
Fantastic stuff. Jesus, man.
Thanks for that great news, man. We need regulatory clarity, or we will be left behind. That's very clear, I think.
Henry, just out of curiosity, what's your take on SEC versus Yuga? Because I feel like you've been following that a long time and have a good pulse on it.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is that we don't know anything about it, right? Like, we don't know, because what's happening right now behind the scenes is that the SEC has obviously subpoenaed Yuga. They're going through their interrogations, if you will, with the people that they've subpoenaed. And so the next step would be, I would imagine, that they're either going to settle. Here are the three outcomes. Either Yuga settles with them, which I don't think that they would do, especially given like some of this kind of bullish news. So either Yuga settles, or the SEC issues a Wells notice, which is basically them saying like, hey, Ape or Yuga, like the Bored Apes themselves are a security, and then Yuga would effectively go to trial. So my gut tells me that anybody who's under some sort of enforcement action from the SEC is kind of waiting to see how this Coinbase stuff plays out, and is probably trying to delay as long as possible because from what I understand, some of this is like, what judge do you get? So if you get this douchebag Farkoff guy who just ruled against Terraform, and he's on the Yuga case or he's on the Coinbase case, well, this guy might not know anything about crypto and is pro-government, pro-SEC, let's say, even though they're supposed to be impartial. Whereas you get this Judge Falia who actually has an understanding of it. So it's a little bit of a roll of the dice of what judge do you get in court. So I think it would probably be smart for somebody like Yuga to be like, holding off as long as possible to see, because this could be very bullish for projects in general, especially since she specifically referenced collectibles. You know, they could have kept all of this just to talking about the 12 or 13 tokens, but to even talk about collectibles and how this is a really slippery slope and in fact almost makes anything a security was, I think, it was very telling. So yeah, I'm surprised we haven't heard anything from Yuga yet, but I imagine sometime in the next like 2 to 4 months we will.
Man.
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah,
what great news, though, to kick off the weekend. And you were right. I haven't heard about this anywhere else. I'm going to put together some kind of tweet about it. And of course, I'll mention it in my show tomorrow. But yeah, great news. Great news. I'm really happy.
Yeah, sorry, that was long.
That was perfect. And that's exactly what we needed. So thank you. Honestly, thank you very, very much for that. Guys, I think we'll call it a show. We had dude, there's just always so much going on in NFTs. I'll just mention again the Trump NFTs over on Bitcoin. I just think that's so huge. Did English leave? No, he's still here. Yeah, the Trump NFTs over on Bitcoin. The Bored Ape Yacht Club going back to their roots and engaging their community and putting a focus on them, maybe shifting maybe the narrative away from gaming and again back to the community being the core of what they are. So that was cool to see. And the Cool Cats actually going, I don't know if they're moving to IMX, but there's some Cool Cats Immutable X partnership, maybe games again and stuff. Big stuff happening. Everything's moving. The NFT space is always evolving. So we'll touch on those maybe this week at some point. Before we end, let me just show you guys something really cool. And really, it's a thank you to you guys. It's a thank you to you guys watching here. It's a thank you to you guys here on the stage and co-hosting with me and just shooting the shit and, just participating. So the channel Inside NFTs now 300. Yeah, we crossed 375. We're at 376 now. It's a grind. It's a slow grind, but it's coming and people are watching and just going to keep getting bigger, better, making better content for you guys. But I just wanted to say thank you guys for, again, following along and hopefully you're finding it useful at least. Those morning videos, hopefully those help keep you clued in with what's going on. Just 5 minutes, man. Again, that's hard to beat. So again, heartfelt thank you. Appreciate you guys very much.
No, Huda, you're fucking killing it, dude. And I've probably told you a couple times, but I'll say it out loud. I can't tell you how many people in Kongs who may not even subscribe to it, but mention to me like they see your grind and they're like, you're killing it. Like they know you're going to be something. So nice job. I know the commitment that you've had to it, and I tell you all the time, but you're just made for this, dude. You've been made for this since we were little kids, man. It's all like led up to this this moment in your life where you're just this is your fucking playground, dude, and you're just really fucking good at it.
Man, well, yeah, thank you. Yeah, dude, it just path of least resistance. This is where it's led me, and it's always been about the collectibles and just the online, communities and stuff. So it's just a perfect fit. Might as well share the things I love with everyone and see if we can do some cool shit together along the way. So I've been loving every second of it. So thank you again, guys.
Dude, thanks for
fun
hosting.
Show, dude. And that's the first time I ever saw English. I've never seen his beautiful face before. So
that's fucking wild. He and I had been video chatting a little bit over the past couple months, and when I did, it was jarring too. I'm like, wait a second, I've never seen English before. Handsome fucker.
I knew he was sexy. I knew he was sexy.
Yeah, English. Yeah, it's a treat to get to see you, man.
I was eating, so I took off cam, but oh, you motherfucker.
He don't like being on the screen, but he should be.
I hate being on the live show, man.
Oh man!
Hey, love you, dudes. I hope you all have an awesome weekend, and looking forward to the next Saturday with you.
My guys, I love you too.
Likewise.
Yeah. We'll be in chatting to idiots, but to you guys out there watching, again, that thank you is mostly for you guys. So thank you guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you with tomorrow morning's video.
Bitcoin
See ya.
Brews, 2 days. Let's go.
Quantum Cat's video coming from me and English and Roman, talking a little more in depth about OpCat. So that's coming actually probably today. So be on the lookout.
What
for
time?
That.
What time?
Don't know. I just got to finish editing it up, but
okay.
I'll say this afternoon probably. So
gotcha.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, man. Take it easy.
See you guys.
Ciao.
Later.